I shouldn't have washed my hands.
You're going out live right now.
I shouldn't have washed my hands. My fingers are dry now. What am I going to do?
not to the second. Is that what it's counting down? It was the flu pandemic, and it swept the whole world wide. It caught soldiers and civilians, and they died. Whether lying in a trench or only lying in a bed, 20 million of them got it, and they're dead. There was a soldier on the battleground in 1917. He turned there to his buddy with his face a ghastly green. He said, "We made it both through Passchendaele, the Somme and Flanders too. But now my number's up, my lad, for I've gone and caught the flu." It was the flu pandemic, and it swept the whole world wide. It caught soldiers and civilians, and they died. Whether lying in a trench or only lying in a bed, 20 million of them got it, and they're dead. Well, a nurse was in the hospital when Tommy was brought in. When he sneezed, she caught a faceful that was flying in the wind. She wrote a letter home to England to tell them of her plight, but the letter never got there 'cause the postman died that night. It was the flu pandemic, and it swept the whole world wide. It caught soldiers and civilians, and they died. Whether lying in a trench or only lying in a bed, 20 million of them got it, and they're dead. From the meadowlands of Somerset and o'er the bounding main to the shores of old America, they sang the sad refrain. Mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, a niece and nephew too. Brothers, sisters, bosses, all were struck down by the flu. It was the flu pandemic, and it swept the whole world wide. It got soldiers and civilians, and they died. Whether lying in a trench or only lying in a bed, 20 million of them got it, and they're dead. We feel your applause. We internalize your applause, and you're welcome to do the same. Don't just be clapping in your living room there. Just sit back and continue to drink. We feel your approbation. Rest assured, we feel your approbation, though I think there are still parts of Arkansas where you can be arrested for doing that. I'm Byron Nilsson. At the keyboard is Malcolm Kogut. We are Songs to Amuse, and we are here to delight you this evening with a program of funny and forgotten songs. And that one was written by Greg Henkel of the Flying Fish Sailors, a group who recorded it in the 1980s. Eventually, it was posted to YouTube, where it has been lurking and not nearly enough seen, grumbling angrily to itself, as we all tend to do, let's face it. Why does nobody pay any attention to me? You wait. One day there's going to be another flu pandemic, and then you'll stop ignoring me. So there's a story with a happy ending. Speaking of which, now that the coronavirus is gone, it is gone, right? I mean, didn't Larry Kudlow say so just the other day? You know, Larry Kudlow, the director of the United States National Economics Council, the man whose wife paints pictures of his neckties. This story only gets weirder from there, so this is a good place to stop it. She paints his neckties. Anyway, now that we're safe from the novel coronavirus, I'm kidding. Even with my admittedly tenuous grasp of reality, I know we still need to take all those precautions, but I also want to remind you, you may need to pay attention to other threats out there, such as those that may lurk on your dinner plate. In these days of indigestion, it is oftentimes a question as to what to eat and what to leave alone. Every microbe and bacillus has a different way to kill us, and in time they always claim us for their own. There are germs of every kind in every food that you can find in the market or upon the bill of fare. Drinking water's just as risky as the so-called devil whiskey, and it's often a mistake to breathe the air. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Some little bug will creep behind you someday. Then he'll send for his bug friends, and all your earthly trouble ends. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Second course. The inviting green cucumber gets most everybody's number, while the green corn has a system of its own. Though that radish may seem nutritious, its behavior is quite vicious, and a doctor will be coming to your home. Eating lobster cooked or plain is only flirting with ptomaine, while an oyster sometimes has a lot to say. But the clams we eat in chowder make the angels sing the louder, for they know that we'll be with them right away. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Some little bug will creep behind you someday. Then he'll get into your gizzard. If you lose him, you're a wizard. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Eat a slice of nice fried onion, and you're fit for Dr. Munyon. Apple dumplings kill you quicker than a train. Chew a cheesy midnight rabbit, and a grave you'll soon inhabit. To eat at all is such a foolish game. Eating huckleberry pie is such a pleasing way to die, while sauerkraut brings on softening of the brain. When you eat banana fritters, every undertaker titters, and the casket makers nearly go insane. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Some little bug will creep behind you someday. With a nervous little quiver, he'll give cirrhosis of the liver. Some little bug is going to find you someday. Who let them in? We'd go for the fifth and sixth courses, but that's enough.
Yeah.
That's actually from a Franz Lehrer operetta called Alone at Last, which played on Broadway in 1915, but the song, and you knew this, you guessed this, the song was not by Lehrer. It's actually, the music is by Silvio Hein, who had quite a career in the beginning of the 20th century. In fact, he ended up in Saranac Lake, going for a TB cure, where he was apparently the most charming and entertaining of patients, and that's where he ended his days. The words were co-written by Roy Atwell, who was one of the stars of that show, and that is more than any of us needs to know about it. Because right now we have to ask ourselves, what should you choose for your supper? If nothing else, we're all victims of opportunistic market pricing, which especially seems to send the price of anything that's healthy all the higher. Although I don't think there's too high a price that kale can ever reach. But there is one comestible that's always affordable in hard times, as Tom Paxton so gleefully reminds us. Quit your belly aching, bub, saying you can't afford your grub, saying $1 ain't $1 no more. Well, tell me, buddy, what's new? Can't afford to buy bread no more. Well, this ain't a charity store. You say your kids are hungry too. Well, here's good news for you. You can eat dog food. You really ought to try it. You can fricassee it. You can deep fry it. Flip it on over. Cook it anyway. Eat along with Rover 3 times a day. It comes in a bag or a can, just a meal for a working man. If you're down on your luck just now, it'll get you through the day. If you eat it in the afternoon, you're gonna feel like baying at the moon. Buddy, you're complaining too soon. This is all I gotta say. You can eat dog food. You really ought to try it. You can fricassee it. You can deep fry it. Flip it on over. Cook it anyway. Eat along with Rover 3 times a day. Find yourself a little vacant lot. Clear the garbage from a little spot. Build a fire, let the coals get hot. Let the neighbors in. You can open up a can or two. Make patties like the swell folks do. Have yourself a little barbecue. And let the fun begin. Sing along, you can eat dog food. You really ought to try it. You can fricassee it. You can deep fry it. Flip it on over. Cook it anyway. Eat along with Rover 3 times a day. Let's try it again. You can eat dog food. You really ought to try it. You can fricassee it. You can deep fry it. Flip it on over. Cook it anyway. Eat along with Rover 3 times a day. I hope, yes. Obviously well fed. I hope you were actually singing along and causing your suite mates some distress. We are performing from the stage of Glen Conservancy Hall, a wonderful historic building in the midst of the historic hamlet of Glen, New York. And we had planned to invite you into this hall for this series of concerts and other events this summer, but things changed. And we're live streaming. So we can't shake you down for money at the door, but we can try to guilt you into an online donation at either of the addresses that are shown. And don't worry, the PayPal donations will go to the hall, not to me. It's my name on it. I tried to set up a PayPal account for Glen Conservancy, but they want to see Glen Conservancy's driver's license. So, you know, we're only going to get through this pandemic with responsible mask wearing and distance keeping, increased testing, efficient contact tracing. As Larry Kudlow tells us, do you think his wife goes into the closet and pulls out a thicket of neckties and arranges them into one of the still life sheep? I'm fascinated, but I have to. Anyway, what we need in order to encourage safe behavior is more songs advocating that. Now, we've got some songs about masks and about social distancing, but there's precious little on the contact tracing front. So, we're reviving one, written about a half century ago, but it's become timely all over again. It's by Tom Lehrer, of course. Man can arpeggiate like nobody's business. I love my friends, and they love me. We're just as close as we can be. And just because we really care, whatever we get, we share. You know, I've been hired to do contact tracing by the county, and the very first thing I had to fill out was entirely self-referential. I got it from Agnes, she got it from Jim. We all agree it must have been Louise who gave it to him. Now, she got it from Harry, who got it from Marie. And everybody knows that Marie got it from me. They weren't satisfied with that, so I had to go further and found Giles got it from Daphne, she got it from Joan, who picked it up in County Cork, a kiss in the Blarney Stone. Pierre gave it to Sheila, who must have brought it there. He got it from Francois and Jacques. Lucky Pierre. Now Max got it from Edith, who gets it every spring. She got it from her daddy, who just gives her everything. She then gave it to Daniel, whose spaniel has it now. Our dentist even got it, and we're still wondering how. He has been looking down in the mouth lately. I'm sorry. You know what time it is when you have to go to the dentist? Anybody? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I got it from Agnes, or maybe it was Sue, or Millie, or Billy, or Willie, or Jilly, it doesn't matter who. It might have been in the pub, or at the club, or in the loo. And if you will be my friend, then I might, mind you, I said might, give it to you. One thing you can say for the white supremacist movements that throughout history they tend to be equal opportunity haters, and the resurgence that this country's ever simmering racism has shown us demands a new approach to getting along with one another. Now, we don't have a new approach to offer, only an old one. Here's one for you. A priest, a minister, and a rabbi walk into a theater. That's actually not a joke setup. That actually happened in the 1920s when the National Conference for Christians and Jews sent around what they called a tolerance trio to give talks on tolerance. And this sparked the notion of setting aside a whole week, during which to practice actually trying to like those folks who otherwise frightened you. National Brotherhood Week started in 1936, and like so many other good ideas, it sputtered and died at the beginning of the current century, but not before Tom Lehrer got a hold of it. Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, Stephen Miller and AOC are dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise, as long as you don't let them in your school. Oh, the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all of your folks. It's American as apple pie. But during National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants. All the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, it's national, everyone smile at one another. Hood Week, be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year. Got that? Oh dear. Well, that certainly has worked since Lehrer wrote that. So you go out to call on a friend you haven't seen since March. You sit together 6 feet apart, both of you masked, and you try to assess the months that have just gone by. You make up impressive stories about how you planted a garden, how you fixed up your house, when all you really did was just binge watch Netflix. And you sit there thinking, I probably should have avoided doing this in the first place, but what could I have offered as an excuse? Well, here's one possibility brought to us by Cole Porter. Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. She is sorry to be delayed, but last evening down in Lover's Lane she strayed. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When she woke up and found that her dream of love had gone, Madam, she ran to the man who had led her so far astray. And from under her velvet gown, she drew a gun and shot her lover down. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When the mob came and got her and dragged her from the jail, Madam, they strung her upon the old willow across the way. And the moment before she died, she lifted up her lovely face and cried. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Try that one next time. You know, Cole Porter knew his way around. He also addressed the problem of sequestration. Tell me you didn't feel this way during the past few months. Wildcat Kelly, looking mighty pale, was standing by the sheriff's side. And when that sheriff said, I'm taking you to jail, Wildcat raised his head and cried, oh, give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please, don't fence me in. Just turn me loose. Let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences, gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. Can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences, gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. Can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in, Papa, don't you fence me in, yeah. Thank you for that wild applause. Actually, we had a downpour earlier, and it sounded like the finest ovation, getting that kind of rain on a tin roof like this. We're grateful to Saratoga Arts and the New York State Council on the Arts for supporting our live stream season, but we can always use more dough as we continue to make improvements on the building and spiff up our live stream hardware. So, as you see, a couple of donation options. You know, we like to give deft, snappy intros to the songs we've selected, although I will admit, sometimes those intros get a little bit tortured. Anyway, it's nice that travel has opened up to us again, provided you're not from Mississippi, North Dakota, or Iowa, and that we can visit museums and other cultural landmarks, provided they're not in Mississippi, North Dakota, or Iowa. But here comes the tortured part of this intro. Wouldn't it be nice if some of those landmarks could come to you? Might look like something like this. She was the most glorious creature under the sun. Thais, Dubari, Garbo, rolled into one. Oh, Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you seen Lydia? Lydia, the tattooed lady. She has eyes that folks adore so, and a torso even more so. Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Lydia, the queen of tattoos. On her back is the Battle of Waterloo. Beside it the wreck of the Hesperus too. And proudly above waves the red, white, and blue. You can learn a lot from Lydia. La la la, la la la. La la la, la la la. When her robe is unfurled, she will show you the world. If you'll step up and tell her where. For a dime you can see Kankakee or Parry or Washington crossing the Delaware. La la la, la la la, la la la, la la la. Oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia? Lydia, the tattooed lady. When her muscles start relaxing, up the hill comes Andrew Jackson. Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Lydia, the queen of tattoos. For 2 bits she will do a mazurka in jazz with a view of Niagara that nobody has. And on a clear day, you can see Alcatraz. You can learn a lot from Lydia. La la la, la la la. La la la, la la la. Come along and see Buffalo Bill with his lasso. Just a little classic by Mendel Picasso. Here is Captain Spaulding exploring the Amazon. Here's Godiva, but with her pajamas on. La la la, la la la. La la la, la la la. Here is Grover Whalen unveiling the Trilon. Over on the west coast you find Treasure Island. Here's Nijinsky doing the rumba. Here's her social security number. Oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Lydia, the champ of them all. She once swept an admiral clear off of his feet. The ships on her hips made his heart skip a beat. And now the old boy's in command of the fleet. For he went and married Lydia. I said Lydia, I said Lydia, I said Lydia, the queen of tattoo. Thank you. That's a song that Harold Arlen and Harburg wrote for Groucho Marx for the movie At the Circus, also to redeem themselves for the unabashed treacle of Over the Rainbow. I can do that because there's not really an audience here, and your hate just wells up at home. Well, while we're on the subject of fascinating women, here's a song made popular, if it ever really was popular, by Eddie Cantor. Little Sophie Green, only 17. She's just an innocent kid, some baby. I call at her home, we sit there all alone. Goodness me, but she is shy, that's the reason why I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. Every time I look into her eyes, I'm done. She has the kind of eyes, oh mother, save your son. Oh, I know that she trusts me, just like a brother. She likes my company. If you don't know Sophie, you don't know what bliss is. She has a certain brand of sugar-coated kisses. I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. I was out walking with Sophie when we saw this other couple passionately kissing. I said to her, would you like to do that? She said, I don't even know the man. I showed her how it was done. Oh, she was a quick study. Oh, she was good. She reassured me, of course you're the first boy I've ever kissed. Why do all of you keep asking me that? So there we were, kissing on her sofa. She said to me, would you like to take this upstairs? I said to her, I certainly would. She said, great, grab the other end of it. It's too heavy for me to carry by myself. Sophie loves to spoon, morning, night, and noon. I'll tell the world that she craves affection. Very, very soon, there'll be a honeymoon. Little Sophie will be mine, but until that time, I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. Every time I look into those big blue eyes, I really start to think that I'm in paradise. Oh, I know that she trusts me, just like a brother. She likes my company. Last night she kissed me and I went right off my Beano. She closed her eyes and imagined I was Valentino. I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. She displays a wicked pair of silk sheer hose, and every time she does, oh mother, burn my clothes. Oh, I know that she trusts me, just like a brother. She likes my company. Last week we had to buy a brand new sofa cushion. We wore the old one out with all of Sophie's pushing. I go so far with Sophie on Sophie's sofa, and Sophie goes so far with me. I gotta tell you that Sophie goes so far with me. That's quite a sofa where Sophie goes so far with me. Thank you. Jeez, it takes them long enough sometimes. But you're right with us. I know that, so good for you. On Eddie Cantor's recording of that song, which was made in 1922, it was censored, and he ended up singing, I go so far with Sophie, when I'm with Sophie, and Sophie goes so far, which is, I don't know, I guess that sofa was just taking it a little bit too far. I suppose chaise longue, Davenport, that wasn't going to work. Anyway, here's another young lady, also 17, faced with temptation. Will she succumb? She was young, she was pure, she was new, she was nice, she was fair, she was sweet 17. He was old, he was vile, and no stranger to vice. He was base, he was bad, he was mean. He had slyly inveigled her up to his flat to view his collection of stamps, and he said as he hastened to put out the cat, the wine, his cigar, and the lamps, "Have some Madeira, my dear. You really have nothing to fear. I'm not trying to tempt you, that wouldn't be right. You shouldn't drink spirits at this time of night. Have some Madeira, my dear. It's so very much nicer than beer. Now, I don't care for sherry, one cannot drink stout, and port is a wine I can well do without. It's simply a case of McConnell sans gout. Have some Madeira, my dear." Unaware of the wiles of the snake in the grass or the fate of the maiden who topes, she lowered her standards by raising her glass, her courage, her eyes, and his hopes. She sipped it, she drank it, she drained it, she did. He quietly refilled it again, and he said as he secretly carved one more notch on the butt of his gold-handled cane, "Have some Madeira, my dear. I've got a small cask of it here. And once it's been opened, you know it won't keep. Do finish it up, it will help you to sleep. Have some Madeira, my dear. It's really an excellent year. Now, if it were gin, you'd be wrong to say yes. The evil gin does would be hard to assess. Besides, it's inclined to affect me prowess. Have some Madeira, my dear." Then there flashed through her mind what her mother had said with her antepenultimate breath. "Oh, my child, should you look on the wine tin with red, be prepared for a fate worse than death." She let go her glass with a shrill little cry. Crash tinkle, it fell to the floor. When he asked what in heaven, she made no reply of her mind and a dash for the door. "Have some Madeira, my dear," rang out down the hall loud and clear, a tremulous cry that was filled with despair as she paused to take breath in the cool midnight air. "Have some Madeira, my dear," the words seemed to ring in her ear. Until the next morning, she woke up in bed with a smile on her lips and an ache in her head, and a beard in her ear hole that tickled and said, "Have some Madeira, my dear." Oh. We're going straight to hell. That was written by Michael Flanders and Donald Swann, whose songs we feature quite a bit in these shows of ours. They first worked together as teenagers in a school show, and then they went on to write, well over 100 beautifully crafted, funny songs for British revues in the 1940s and 50s, but midway through the 50s, they hired a theater to go up on stage and perform it themselves, which catapulted them to West End and then Broadway success with the shows At the Drop of a Hat and, not surprisingly, At the Drop of Another Hat. And so to make up for the sauciness of that last number, we sing another of their songs. It's the cleanest one we know. Oh, I find much simple pleasure when I've had a tiring day in the bath, where the noise of gentle sponging seems to blend with my top A. In the bath, me, in the bath. To the skirl of pipes vibrating in the boiler room below, I sing a potpourri of all the songs I used to know. And the water thunders in and gurgles down the overflow. In the bath, in the bath. Then the loathing for my fellows rises steaming from my brain. In the bath, in the bath, in the bath. And condenseth to the milk of human kindness once again. In the bath, in the bath. Nice pipes, huh? Oh, the tingling of the scrubbing brush, the flannel's soft caress. To wield a lordly loofah is a joy I can't express. How truly it is spoken, one is next to godliness. In the bath, in the bath. Then there comes that dreadful moment when the water's running cold in the bath. In the bath, when the soap is lost forever and you're feeling tired and old. In the bath, in the bath. Oh, it's time to pull the plug out, time to mop the bathroom floor. But the towel is in the cupboard, and the cupboard is next door. It started running hot, let's have another hour or more. In the bath, in the bath. I can see the one salvation for the poor old human race. In the bath, in the bath. Let the leaders of the nation meet together face to face. In the bath, in the bath. One with room for Pence and Harris and all those other chaps. For Biden and McConnell. Then we'll have some peace, perhaps, provided Donald Trump gets the, it's hand carved. It's a beautiful thing. It's incredible. It's a hand carved, gold plated. You've never seen anything like it. It's Carrera Romero. But believe me, it's the best. It's the best bathtub ever. And you got to put me. We got to put Melania on that side over there, right next to Stormy. We got to put her over there. Believe me, because as you know, you got to put me at the end without the taps. In the bath, in the bath. We're going to clean up on that version. Well, welcome to the New Depression. And you can help offset our own fiduciary challenges with a donation to one or both of the options you see on the card before you. There is a very effective soundtrack to this New Depression, which was written during the old Depression, the 1930s Depression. But things were different. I mean, back then we stood on bread lines. Today, we hoard flour and bake the bread ourselves. Okay. Here's a song for the nervous investor, a number from Billy Rose's 1934 review, Casino de Paris. According to Rose, the ultimate showman, it featured the usual 50 showgirls in 49 costumes. So, it played at a midtown Manhattan space that would later achieve notoriety as Studio 54. Got the jitters? I get up at 9, read the morning news, while a hurdy-gurdy plays the St. Louis blues. Then from 10 to 3, there is no escape from the tick, tick, tick of the ticker tape. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Grab a taxi cab, grab a bite to eat, where the food is either sour or much too sweet. Then pick up a phone and call up a she. I don't care for her, she doesn't care for me. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters. Like the clatter and the clamor of the pounding of a hammer in Manhattan panorama. Got the jitters. Get my broker, buy 100,000 shares of tapioca. Get Chicago on the wire, hello Mr. McIntyre, tapioca's going higher. Got the jitters. Bought a penthouse with a view, haven't had a chance to see the view. Bought a shiny Cadillac, always take a taxi there and back. Got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters. From the moment that I get up on the go without a let-up waiter, bring another setup. Got the jitters. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Bought a penthouse with a view, haven't had a chance to see the view. Bought a shiny Cadillac, always take a taxi there and back. Got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters, got the jitters. From the moment that I get up on the go without a let-up waiter, bring another setup, got the jitters. Like a million other critters who are not exactly quitters, I'm a much bewildered man who's got the jitters. You're not going to hear that one very many other places. Although, if you look, and it may be on YouTube, there is an Ozzie Nelson recording of it. That's right, Ricky's dad recorded it. Yes, anyway. 1934 also gave us a new way to look at love. This was an era of increased interest in psychiatry, which opened up people to the realization that they weren't necessarily responsible for the venal, horrific things that they did. They could blame it on an absent father or a lack of conscientious mothering, excuses that I still use to this day. Even better, as a man bewildered by a woman's indifference, instead of finding fault with your own lack of any iota of appeal, you can simply decide that psychology was working against you and go on to act like a jerk with the next one. Actually, I have a friend who remains doggedly single, explaining to me that every woman he ever dates has got some kind of a gotcha that's only revealed after the relationship starts to grow. And I asked him, was there anything else these women all have in common? He had no idea. Once upon a time, I have heard it said, love about to start came from out the heart rather than the head. All is different now. Science will explain love's a mental quirk, starting with a jerk somewhere in the brain. As for good old honest passion, well, that's completely out of fashion. So when you find a girl, the perfect kind of girl, and your feelings grow distinctly biological, you think you're hot for her, but you're not, for it's psychological. Oh, what a kick you get, and oh, how quick you get. In your fingers a desire to be misogynal. When you define that, it's just a sign that you're psychological. Love is a question of mental suggestion, strictly cerebral you'll find. Sex is a theory, consider it dearie, merely a matter of mind. When I envelop you, it's just to help you study out the thing in manner pedagogical. For goodness sakes, dear, give me the breaks, dear, be psychological. Love is a question of mental suggestion, strictly cerebral you'll find. Sex is a theory, consider it dearie, merely a matter of mind. When I envelop you, it's just to help you study out the thing in manner pedagogical. For goodness sakes, dear, give me the breaks, dear. Be psychological. Joey Nash and Al Boley both made recordings of that song, just so you know. It's supposed to be from a terrible 1934 movie called Melody Cruise, starring the forgettable and forgotten Lanny Ross. I'm going to hear from the Lanny Ross fan club now. But I watched the movie, God help me, and I didn't find that song in there anywhere. So thank goodness you have me here to torment you with it. Speaking of torment, we have adapted an old Tom Paxton song for current use. It's one of those numbers that he terms his short shelf life songs. And it's amazing how easily they adapt to each passing decade. Just to tell you how far back it goes, this one was originally titled The Ballad of Spiro Agnew. I sing of Mitch McConnell and all the things he's done. Very easy to memorize that one. We're nearing the end of the program, I mean, but it certainly feels like the apocalypse sometimes. If it's not exactly around the corner, then I think it's ambling down the block. So we're going to finish with a trio of numbers that each in its own way gives a sense of who we are, how we got here, and what could happen next. The first is a song that Randy Newman wrote in 1972, in which he explains no longer gets the laughs it got back then, and that's going to segue into a Flanders and Swann song that's, well, it's terribly dated by the antique statistics that it quotes, but it never loses its timeliness. No one likes us. I don't know why. We may not be perfect, but heaven knows we try. But all around, even our old friends put us down. Let's drop the big one and see what happens. We give them money. Are they grateful? No, they're spiteful and they're hateful. They don't respect us, so let's surprise them. We'll drop the big one and pulverize them. Asia's crowded, Europe's too old. Africa is far too hot and Canada's too cold. South America stole our name. We'll drop the big one, there'll be no one left to blame us. We'll save Australia. Don't want to hurt no kangaroo. We'll build an all-American amusement park there. They got surfing too. Boom goes London, boom Paris. More room for you and more room for me. In every city, the whole world round, will just be another American town. Oh, how peaceful we will be. We'll set everybody free. You'll wear a Japanese kimono. There'll be Italian shoes for me. They all hate us anyhow. So let's drop the big one now. Let's drop the big one now. I have seen it estimated somewhere between death and birth. There are now 3,000 million people living on the earth. And the stockpiled mass destruction of the nuclear powers that be equals for each man or woman 20 tons of TNT. Every man of every nation, 20 tons of TNT, shall receive this allocation, 20 tons of TNT. Texan, Bantu, Slav, or Maori, Argentine, or Sinhalese, every maiden brings this dowry, 20 tons of TNT. Not for 30 silver shilling, 20,000 pounds a killing. 2,000 years of teaching, give to each his legacy. Plato, Buddha, Christ, or Lenin, 20 tons of TNT. Father, mother, son, and daughter, 20 tons of TNT. Give us land and seed and water, 20 tons of TNT. Children have no need of sharing at each new nativity. Come the ghostly big eye bearing, 20 tons of TNT. ends the tale that has no sequel. 20 tons of TNT. Now, in death, are all men equal? 20 tons of TNT. Teach me how to love my neighbor. Do to him as he to me. Share the fruits of all our labor. 20 tons of TNT. Finally, a song that I happened upon in a file drawer, a song that's been sitting there since about 1985, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be performed. This is its premiere performance. It's a song that I wrote in a fit of 80s angst, and the message of the song is reproven with the passing of every year. Nothing succeeds like success, they say, but failure can lead you to sorrow. Remember, what may seem like failure today will look very different tomorrow. Oh, the world is gonna love you when you're dead. It's the only way a genius gets ahead. Sure, it's nice to have you here with your down-the-drain career, but the world will only cheer you when you're dead. Hey, the world will say hooray when you expire, and every critic's now a lousy liar. Sure, with envy they've been green, which is why they were so mean, but you're the greatest thing they've seen when you expire. No one wants a genius when he's standing in the way. He's a pimple on the belly of the throng. But when he's pushing daisies, you can bet they're gonna say, well, he's a genius. I knew it all along. So the world is gonna love you when you croak. I know right now it seems an awful joke, ha ha ha. But give a healthy chortle as you pass through heaven's portal. Kid, you're gonna be immortal when you croak. You should try to go in style when you go. Never mind how loud your enemies might crow. So it's been a Sing the Blues week, not a week you'd care to choose week, but you'll be on time in Newsweek when you go. Now the world would love to see you underground, and they'll tell you there's no need to hang around. Sure, you've watched your life decline, you've been hounded by the swine, but the view will be just fine from underground. There's a special kind of madness when you live upon this earth, keeps you striving to achieve that fame and wealth. You waste your time and energy to justify your worth. Good thing you never cared about your health. For the world is gonna love you when you're dead, when they shove you underneath that flower bed. If you're running out of luck and maybe time to kick the bucket, you'll give up those earthly things. Slay a heart and flutter wings. Don't think folks will be bereft, cause they've got lots of genius left. Yes, the world is gonna love you, never mind how much they shove you. The world is gonna love you when you're dead. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And special thanks to Lily Whiteman at the editing console here. We feel your applause, we do, and we delight in the cha-ching of your donations hitting one of our online accounts as listed there on your screen. Now, don't forget to tune in on Saturday, September 12th at 7:30 p.m. Our next live stream features singer-songwriter Dan Berggren, and he is guaranteed to lift us out of any gloom this particular performance may have provoked. So you need him. You need him after us. And as we drink in your electronic accolades, we wouldn't think of leaving you on the precipice of despair. So one more number, another from Flanders and Swann. Again, you must sing along. A bold hippopotamus was standing one day on the banks of the cool Shalimar. He gazed at the bottom as it peacefully lay by the light of the evening star. Away on a hilltop sat combing her hair his fair hippopotami maid. The hippopotamus was no ignoramus and sang her this sweet serenade. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. The fair hippopotama he aimed to entice from her seat on that hilltop above. As she hadn't got a ma to give her advice, came tiptoeing down to her love. Like thunder the forest re-echoed the sound of the song that they sang as they met. His inamorata adjusted her garter and lifted her voice in duet. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. Now more hippopotami began to convene on the banks of that river so wide. I wonder now what am I to say of the scene that ensued by the Shalimar side. They dived all at once with an ear-splitting splash, then rose to the surface again, a regular army of hippopotami, all singing this haunting refrain all together. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. And now we will hold for a moment before we kill the live stream, because it has the unusual capability of cutting off early. So if you're still seeing this, it was meant to be here.